This is part 8 of torts, beginning with product liability. Now, products may be defective and a manufacturer, distributor, and or seller liable for the defect in product's design or manufacture, or because of a failure to adequately warn. There's 3 possible claims: negligence, strict products liability, breach of warranty. Looking first at negligence. Again, duty, breach, causation, damages. Duty, reasonable care to any foreseeable purchaser, user, bystander. Breach is a failure to exercise in products liability, negligence action, failure to exercise reasonable care in inspection or sale of product. Now, the plaintiff must establish that a defect exists. The defendant's negligent conduct led to plaintiff's harm, meaning that had the defendant exercised reasonable care in the inspection or sale of the product, the defendant would have discovered the defect and would not have been harmed. Causation in a negligence product liability action, plaintiff must establish both actual and proximate damages. Negligent products liability action, plaintiff is entitled to personal and or property damage. Pure economic loss is not allowed under negligence, or strict liability action in products liability must be brought as a breach of warranty. So if you're looking at economic loss, products liability in a negligence action must be under breach of warranty. Defenses to negligence under products liability, standard negligence defenses apply. So you have products liability, you have 3 possible claims: negligence, strict products liability, and breach of warranty. That was negligence. Looking under strict products liability, elements are the product was defective in either manufacture, design, or failure to warn. The defect existed at the time the product left the defendant's control, and the defect caused the plaintiff's injuries when used in an intended or reasonably foreseeable way. And a defective product, you have a manufacturing defect. This is a deviation from what the manufacturer intended, and the deviation causes the harm. Again, a manufacturing defect is a deviation from what the manufacturer intended, and that deviation causes the harm, meaning whether the product conforms to the defendant's own specifications. A design defect, courts vary in application of the test. You can have a consumer expectation test. Does a product include a condition not contemplated by the ordinary consumer that is unreasonably dangerous? You have the risk utility test. Do the risks posed by the product outweigh its benefits? Under this test, the plaintiff must prove a reasonable alternative design, again under the risk utility test, not the consumer expectation test, risk utility test. Does the risk posed by the product outweigh its benefits? Under the test, the plaintiff must prove a reasonable alternative design was available. That design must be economically feasible. And failure to use that design rendered the product not necessarily safe. For a defective product, you have manufacturing, design, or failure to warn. So under failure to warn, this is where the manufacturer's failure to provide an adequate warning related to the risk of using the product. This exists if there's a foreseeable risks of harm, not obvious to an ordinary user, which could have been reduced or avoided by instructions or warnings, and the failure to include these instructions and or warnings renders the product not reasonably safe. Failure to warn in regards to prescription drugs. This is the learned intermediary rule. A manufacturer satisfies the duty of warning by informing the prescribing physician of problems with the drugs. Unless the manufacturer is aware the drug will be dispensed or administered without intervention by a healthcare provider and or as required by statute, such as with regards to birth control. Appropriate plaintiffs under strict products liability action are anyone foreseeably injured or whose property is harmed. This includes not only purchasers but other users and bystanders. Defendants in a products liability action must be in the business of selling, not a casual seller. So you didn't sell one on Craigslist, and you can't be brought into this. Must be in the business of selling the product of that type. This includes a manufacturer, distributor, and retail seller. They're liable even if not responsible for the defect in any way. Again, defendants in regards to seller of component part, they may be liable if the component itself is defective, but not when the component is incorporated into a product that is defective for another reason. So if the seller of a component into a greater product, that component is not the cause or root of the harm, then they're not liable. Indemnification of defendants, a retailer is able to recover from the manufacturer in an indemnification action. Damages in products liability, the plaintiff is entitled to personal and or property damage. Pure economic loss is not allowed under negligence or strict liability action. Products liability must be brought as a breach of warranty. We discussed that already. Defenses, these are the same as discussed before. Comparative fault jurisdiction, this is the minority of jurisdiction. Plaintiff's own negligence reduces his recovery in a strict products liability action in the same manner as in a negligence action. A contributory negligence jurisdiction. Plaintiff's negligence generally is not a defense to strict products liability. It is a defense when the plaintiff's fault consisted of unreasonably proceeding in the face of a known product defect. Looking at defenses in strict products liability of the assumption of risk, you have subjective. This is where plaintiff must be aware of the danger and knowingly expose himself to it. Contributory negligence jurisdiction is a complete bar if assumption of risk is made voluntary and knowingly. Comparative fault jurisdictions, again, that's a majority. This will reduce recovery and portion the degree of fault where you assume the risk. Defenses of product misuse, modification, or alteration by the plaintiff. This is generally a complete bar to recovery. Where the product is misused, modified, or altered by the plaintiff, generally a complete bar to recovery, unless it is a foreseeable misuse, modification, or alteration. Comparative fault jurisdictions, and as a majority, this reduces but does not eliminate recovery. Contributory negligence, majority, total bar to recovery. Defenses of a substantial change, where it's a substantial change to the product. This constitutes a superseding cause, severing the chains where the product has been substantially changed. That totally makes sense. Look at compliance with government standards as a defense. This is not conclusive. Now, it may be preempted if Congress specifically so states. Congress regulates the field, and it would be impossible for the defendant to comply with both federal and state tort law. And that completes Part 8 of Torts.